Axe goes in, blood comes out. Axe goes in, blood comes out.
So this is Gloomwood, and there's a lot, and not enough to talk about. Early access was probably the best path for this game, seeing as the hype train was reaching terminal velocity. Dylan Rogers' dream game, IMSIM, sets itself perfectly apart from its modern contemporaries, in a genre constantly clamoring for more. It does a lot right, but there are some issues right now to where I don't know if I could recommend it to you in its current state. It depends on your mindset. Do you hate short games? Well, sorry buddy. Do you like autistically combing over every fine detail, eating every crumb, even if it means sliding between a few moldy floorboards? Then yes, it could be that exact slightly dirty and tasty crumb. Gloomwood takes place in a Victorian Wuhan that has been ravaged by some sort of megavirus. I don't know, can I make that comparison? Is COVID still a bad word? It is killing people en masse and maybe turning its town inhabitants into unhinged psychopaths. So yeah, like the cough, probably some Lovecraftian bullshit afoot.
Prepare a carriage. They want us to bring him to the city gates.
So as we have it right now, you play as some kind of plague doctor who's been imprisoned in a fishery outside the town. But this ain't your normal fishery.
Ah, good doctor. What an unfortunate predicament you found yourself in. Kidnapped.
You're set free by a mysterious figure who tells you to flee the place and meet him by the lighthouse. This is where your morally ambiguous and definitely not Hippocratic trek into town begins. I like this. It sets up an interesting and spooky dynamic that really makes me excited for what's to come.
Slaughter goat.
No. Why should I?
The Night Watch said they caught something. They won't say what, just that everybody should come see.
It better be more exciting than that overgrown rabbit they showed last time.
If there's one thing this game does really well, it's environmental storytelling. Everything from the setup of the rooms, to the notes scattered about, to Johnny rambling to himself.
Has anyone found a key up to the watchtower yet?
No. Apparently one of the prisoners escaped and locked himself in there.
It tells a story, and I have a vague idea where it could possibly go. But I don't know, you never know with New Blood. And if you're familiar with them, especially Dylan and David's previous work, you could certainly guess. You're almost certainly wrong though. As for the visuals and audio, it's superb for what it's aiming to achieve. Like getting your leather boots spit polished by a guy you just saw gargling a bottle of hand sanitizer. Authentic, clinically modern, might leave a stain. It fits perfectly with the rest of New Blood's catalogue, using that vintage mid to late 90s design, but with that modern polish that we've all come to expect from them. I still can't believe a Medieval has full ray tracing support, though Gloomwood is different in a very peculiar way. The lighting and texture work is that weirdly beautiful blend of early 2000s dramatic lighting and late 90s model work. Its strength is how striking the lighting is. It's clear at all times where you won't get seen by glowy men. As I get older, my vision has become kinda shite. So when AAA games plaster every possible post-processing effect over an image, it doesn't just make the game uglier. In my opinion, it makes the game harder for me and tons of other people to play. Some IMSIMs fall for this too, and for fuck's sake, it's called an immersive simulation. Last time I checked, my eyes didn't process lens flare, and they certainly aren't coded in a hazy, blurry film. Save that shit for the Unreal 5 remake clickbaiters. There's a distinct lack of HUD elements, if any at all. There's a crosshair, and that's it. If you want to check how much ammo you have to open up the gun and check. The animations for all the characters in the game world are simple and stiff, but I want to let that slide. Dylan's going to be updating these little fellas so they're a little bit more dynamic in their animations, and that's kind of cool. The Doctor, not so much. He has a lot of character. And yeah, the way he opens his case, shooting his guns, stabbing, they're all lightning quick, and it's just so smooth. The only time the game pauses is when you're looking at notes or reading maps. Now, I was playing Prey 2017 recently, and while it did the same thing when it came to reading notes, when you read anything on the computer, it'd be in real time. And in the context of that game, it created these ball-bustingly tense moments. So when I was looking at the footage for this video, I noticed that I was very wrong about that. Gloomwood doesn't pause when you're reading notes, and in fact it went above and beyond what Prey did in the first place. So the game is very good at keeping you on your stinky toes, but as this review goes on, I want Prey to be at the top of your mind because it influenced Gloomwood a lot more than I previously thought. Complementary to all of that is the audio design. It's wonderful. The sound of the wind, the hum of an engine, the creak of a floorboard, the haunting sound of the gramophone, and its utter lack of any background music. Get a good pair of headphones, crank the audio up to its absolute maximum, then book yourself in for a hearing checkup the next day. A lifetime of tinnitus will be worth it for those few hours you'll get with that wonderfully moody soundscape. Voice acting wise, it's hammy, but I love it. It's emulating that Looking Glass vibe down to an absolute T.
I love a good hunt.
Do I spy something? Murder.
Some of it's spooky, and some of it's hilarious in a wonderfully morbid way. And of course they got Johnny. Well, good luck looting the Axemen, nerds. I've seen what you did with Gabriel. It's the icing on the cake of an already atmospheric experience. And that's the name of the game with Gloomwood. Atmosphere. Everything's functional and unintrusive. All with the aim of keeping you immersed in its crusty, spooky world. Gameplay wise, everything has been bog standard stealth IMSIM with very little to differentiate itself on the surface. Yes, it plays itself like a modern Thief game, minus the merciful Garrett. But that's not to say that it doesn't have its refinements. Saying that, the smaller elements introduced into the game make the immersive elements even that much more immersive. God, I think I might have to introduce another counter for abusing the word immersive. As a first-person stealth game, it does its stealth and movement in exactly the same way that its spiritual predecessor had done over 2 decades ago. Hide in the shadows, your ring will tell you if you can be seen, sneak around avoiding any surfaces that might make a loud thud, jump and climb on objects to hide on the rafters. It's not that different from Thief, and I hate bringing that up seeing as it's still in its early days. It is a throwback game after all, and maybe more systems will be introduced later on, but it's as bog standard as this rare breed of game can be. I want to see more things being brought to the table like Thief. Garrett had an assortment of arrows and other things to help him navigate the world, like rope and moss arrows to keep it from being just another stealth game. Just more fun tools so I can fuck around and be a chaotic ninja.
Look what you fucking done! I'm calling the police on you, you horrible cunt, bitch! Move out the—
Maybe more modern touches to the stealth genre could be implemented too, like, I don't know, bush stealth? Yeah, I know that knee-high grass is a bit overdone these days, but it doesn't mean it's a bad system. But yeah, what I have always praised IMSIMs for is the, I can do that moment, as well as the, yeah, no shit I can do that. It's not a bad system, the stealth and movement are smooth. It's just at this time, it's just not as fleshed out as I want it to be. And I know it has a lot of potential. As for being a violent psychopath, which we all love doing in video games, it can be satisfying. Poking people in the back feels good. The cane duels are tactile and rewarding. If you fight an Axeman one-on-one, or 2 maybe, but the more baddies that there are, you'll have little chance of surviving, especially if they got a gun. So more often than not, you're at a total disadvantage, and the game wants you to play in a different way. Health is low, and resources are scarce, on the highest difficulty available anyway. But Thief with guns, gotta have some decent gunplay, right? Yes and no. I'll take it any day over old IMSIM gunplay, but it desperately needs some refinements. The handgun you find early on feels flaccid, and if you have to use it, you know you messed up. It takes a few shots to take a guy down. I don't know if there's a headshot multiplier, but it definitely doesn't feel like it. It's not even accurate at longer ranges. I'm almost certain that this is a holdover from traditional survival horror games, you know, starting with a pea shooter. Maybe I've been playing a bit too much Destiny 2 lately, where it's less punishing to aim, but I don't know, man, it just feels pretty bad. The saving grace of the revolver is reloading each bullet one by one, which feels pretty neat. And seeing how much ammo you have just by checking the gun itself is, for lack of a better word, pretty rad. For the rest of your arsenal, which for now is relegated to the latter half of the early access release, are so good in comparison. New Blood never does disappoint with a shotgun. No complaints there. On my second playthrough, I got access to this modified revolver called the Undertaker. You can only really take advantage of it in playthrough 2 as of now, but it's an excellent change of pace. This is what I love to see. 2 separate types of ammo for 2 very different playstyles. One of the bullets allows you to shoot buttons and knock lights out, among a few other things. You also get flame rounds, which are the ultimate get out of jail free card.
You're gonna burn, alright.
The AI is as dumb as bricks and can be abused relentlessly, but it's not like they won't mess you up any chance they can get. They feel overtuned in certain areas and undertuned in others. It can be frustrating at times, but whatever it is, it's a minor problem. I'd be lying if they weren't entertaining though. It's bizarre what they can do. So let's get to the positives. I've been shitting on a game that I actually like a lot. So how about we look at what makes Gloomwood to me. First and foremost is the level design, and truly it's the strongest aspect of the game, bringing out the game's other major influences front and center, while highlighting the strongest aspects of the IMSIM gameplay. At first, the fishery does a great job at railroading the player from place to place to get you accustomed to the way that Gloomwood feels, all the way to your first gramophone. Once you get that, you open up a door looping around to where you first began, and this gramophone instantly becomes the central and most important part of the entire fishery. There's no quick saves, so once you die or load back into the game, that's your home. This is the most ingenious design choice that the game could have done. A lot of IMSIMs have tried different ways of getting around quick saving. Cruelty Squad said fuck you and try again if you failed. Deathloop did that for the entire run. However, both were not quite as elegant as the bonfire/typewriter system. As the fishery opens up, it always leads you back there. Speaking of survival horror elements, Gloomwood shamelessly takes its grid-based inventory system from old school Resident Evil games, meaning inventory Tetris. But the interesting thing is how fluidly it presents itself in gameplay. Most items in the game world can be put inside it, including food, bottles and meat puppets that you can use at any time, in real time. Right now you really have to decide what you want to bring with you at any time. So if you want to part ways with Wilson's cranium, go ahead, lob him at Axeman and tell him that you love him. It's just such a flexible inventory system that always keeps you in the game. A good indicator of a good IMSIM has always been how early can I sequence break the game by stacking boxes. And yeah, that's here too. In the fishery I managed to pile up a few and climb up this chain because fuck it, I could. But there's more interesting things that can be done that blew my mind a little. These skylights can be opened to jump back down into the fishery, but they can be used as a way to get up to the top of the roof as well. So I thought of something. What if I brought an explosive barrel up along the rooftops from the fishery to the garage and drop it on top of the axemen and gunmen that were giving me trouble? So I did that, as awkward as it was to lug an explosive barrel around, but hey, plan successful. If a dummy like me could come up with something like that, could you imagine what someone with an IQ in the double digits could do? Every day I find out something new on Twitter. Blasco keeps blowing my mind with how far he can push the game. That's IMSIM magic. And IMSIM magic is what's going to keep you going with Gloomwood. Because as every YouTuber and reviewer will have you know, it's short. Even the game lets you know how unfinished it is. There's a halfway house that has a shotgun in it, and that one has one of the creepiest build-ups to it. For a second, I thought I was going to get a Hunt Showdown style fight with some creepy monster, but no, the game lets you know that's a work in progress. This took me out of the experience more than I'd care to admit. The other two parts of the experience, however, are very different from the fishery. They don't feel as open-ended as that did. The caves were a creepy diversion for sure, and it's very Szymanski style horror. Probably butchered that. Szymanski. And Dylan and David worked on Dusk before, so yeah, it's a fun and creepy section. While there are a few branching paths, it's noticeably linear in comparison to the fishery. Same with the journey to the lighthouse. Knowing that the current build wraps up right before we get into town, I'm hoping it looks more like the fishery than the other two levels. It's not that they're bad, no, god no. And they're clearly pace breakers. We just haven't gotten to the point where there is a discernible pace. I wonder what happened to the original demo level. Why wasn't that included in the early access release? Maybe the game evolved too much since then, or maybe it's the case that we'll see it when we get to the main district. Who knows? Speaking of what's not in the game, let's talk about the future of the game. What could I possibly want in the future, and what are we getting? Slightly better AI, of course. However, I just want more tools to manipulate the environment. Unlocking the Undertaker in playthrough 2 opened up my eyes to what was possible. I could see an item box maybe being added in the future like in Resident Evil, We know we're getting more levels, more gear, and more enemies. Hell, they introduced a new type of enemy since I initially recorded this footage. And there might even be more by the time I'm done making this video, but that's just a curse of reviewing an early access game, innit? Dylan's already showing what's in store. The new difficulty levels, which, fuck yeah, the game could do it a bit more. Let's go into overtime. On October 25th, 2022, after finishing my recording session, starting to edit this video finally together, Dylan, the absolute madman that he is, updated the game to include Blood Moon, the now pinnacle and definitive way to play Gloomwood, for Gloomwood veterans, alongside a slew of new balance changes and a micro area to explore the church. While my previous criticisms to the AI being slightly brain dead still hold weight, they have improved slightly and are now a serious threat to behold. Not to mention the armoured huntsmen now prowl the world. The biggest change was definitely the wax cylinders for the definitely not gramophone and certainly phonograph. These little wax tubes will probably lead to some of the most important decision making you'll have to make in this game. This early on, feeling the breadth of changes is astonishing. It's wonderful to be part of this journey. Quick saving for those who want it in the game, and a custom difficulty option too. I want to make this very clear though. I want Dylan, David, and everyone else who is working on this to take as much time as they need, and I know they will. It might take 1, 2, or maybe 5 years before we even see the full game, and I'm more than patient, and I hope you are too. Don't be a feral freak and harass game devs. Games like this need all the time in the world. Though the question on everyone's mind should be, is it worth its asking price? I think that's like buying into a starter of a Michelin star restaurant and the chef might give you a main course 6 months down the line. As is the case with most early access games from the publisher, I can recommend this wholeheartedly at its price. Maybe a kidney too, but you have to be a very specific type of person. If you're just a run and gun type guy, one playthrough and then that's it, no, definitely not. If you're a casual stealth game enjoyer, no, it's an investment that may pay off. However, if you want to experiment and savor every funny little interaction that the game allows you to, then why do you need that answered? You've probably already bought the game. IMSIMs are wonderful, though I'm envious of you if you're patient enough to wait for a full release. You'll get an amazing game. And that's the video. Once Gloomwood is finished and I'm still making videos, I'll do a full review on it, and that's a promise I'm willing to make. If I don't, you can sell my other kidney for V-Bucks.
Thanks for watching.